We're going to teach you how to buy your first Airbnb in the next 90 days, even if you have zero real estate experience.
We are the Real Estate Robinsons.
Hey everyone, if this is your first time here, I'm Sarah.
I'm Tony.
And we're real estate investors who quit our day jobs by investing in short-term rentals. And we're here to show you how you guys can do the same.
So I recently held a live training, and at the beginning of that live training, I asked everyone what their biggest obstacle was when trying to start their Airbnb business. And most people said that where they got stuck was in choosing a market and finding the right properties within that market to actually purchase.
So if that sounds like you, then you'll love today's video. We're going to give you an action plan to buy your first Airbnb in the next 90 days.
Now look, buying your first Airbnb in the next 90 days is honestly a pretty straightforward process, okay? Now notice that we didn't say easy. It's not an easy process, but it's straightforward and it's simple. So what we're going to give you in this video are the exact steps you need to follow to buy your first Airbnb in the next 90 days.
And those steps will be broken out over 4 separate phases. And each phase has a very specific start date and end date. So let's dive right in. Phase number 1 is choosing your market. This phase starts on day 1 and ends on day 14. So you basically have 2 weeks to choose your market.
And I know this may not seem like a ton of time, but I promise if you go about choosing your market the right way, which is what we'll show you in this video, you'll be able to choose a market a lot faster than you think. Now, I've got an hour-long free training that teaches people how to, or at least how we're looking for new Airbnb markets today. So if you want to attend that free training, head over to therealestaterobinsons.com/free training, and you can grab a spot on that next live training when it happens. But what we'll give you right now are kind of like the Clip Note versions.
So whenever you're trying to gauge whether or not a city is a right market to buy an Airbnb in, there are 3 things you have to consider. We call these the 3 P's of market selection, and each P stands for a different box that you should be checking.
The first P stands for policies, the second P stands for popularity, and the third P stands for profitability.
Policies means asking the question, can I legally operate in an Airbnb in this city? Popularity means, are there enough people actually traveling to the city to support the Airbnb and generate enough revenue? And profitability means if I can compare the amount of money I need to spend to purchase a property in that city to the amount of profit that it generates, is there a big enough spread to make me actually really happy?
And if you can check all 3 of those boxes, then you've got a pretty solid market. So let's talk about where you should even start when trying to choose a market. You see, the easiest way to find a new market is to go into Google and type things like things to do in XYZ states. It doesn't matter what state you choose. Pretty much every state has something fun to do. But unless you live in that state, you probably wouldn't have heard of most of the things that that state actually has to offer. So literally pick a state, any state, and go to Google and type in things to do. And Google will come back with a ton of different options and attractions in that state.
You might find museums or national parks or NASCAR speedways or lakes or amusement parks. But once you find those really big attractions, you want to research the cities that those attractions are found in.
Now, like we said, the 3 Ps, first you need to find out if you can legally run an Airbnb in that city. The last thing you want to do is get all excited about, oh my God, I found the perfect city, waste a bunch of time analyzing deals, or even, God forbid, maybe even buying an actual property, only to realize that Airbnbs are actually illegal in that city.
That sounds super dramatic and crazy, but we've heard plenty of stories of people not doing their due diligence and their homework before actually buying.
So once you've checked the box on the legal side of things, you'll have answered 2 big questions that every person should ask when they're thinking about a city. So first, are there enough people coming to this city to make my Airbnb profitable? And second, can I legally operate an Airbnb in this city?
Now, we want you to pick more than just one city. Ideally, we want you to come away with at least 5 different cities. Reason being, when you start analyzing deals, you might realize that most of the deals aren't profitable enough. And if that's the case, you'll need to move on to the next city.
Now, once you've found your 5 cities and you've confirmed that you can legally run an Airbnb in each city, you're done with the first phase.
Remember, do not overthink this step. Spend no more than 14 days here. It is way too easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis. We hear this all the time. So keep yourself on this 14-day timeline.
Now, obviously, make sure that you're actually grinding it out every day for 14 days. Right? Like, don't do nothing on day 1 and wait till day 9 and try and do it in 5 days.
Like, Tony and Sarah said 14 days.
Yeah. But as long as you really grind it out, you can move on to the second phase, which is funding your deal. But Before we get to the second phase, we want to let you guys know that we've officially launched our Airbnb coaching program. It's called Alpha Host Academy. We're currently still in our beta test phase, and it's a lifetime membership for those who join during the beta launch. You get a mix of one-on-one coaching. We have 3 group coaching calls every single week. Run one of those sessions ourselves.
Yeah.
Our goal is to help you escape the rat race and replace your job in 5 years or less. And the best part, like I said, is that it's a lifetime membership when you join during the beta launch.
So if you're interested in booking a discovery call to learn more, then head over to therealestaterobinsons.com/book a call. And if you're not yet an Airbnb host, sign up using the link in the description. You'll get a cash bonus for signing up, and we'll get a small cash bonus for referring you as well.
All right, phase 2 is funding your deal. Now that you've got your list of potential cities, you'll need to get your finances in order.
So before you can actually start putting in offers on properties, you need to make sure that you have the money to actually buy it.
Now, if you're like most people, you probably don't have enough money just sitting around in the bank to pay for a property in cash. So you'll probably end up getting some kind of loan to purchase that property.
And honestly, if you do have enough money in the bank to pay cash for a property, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should. You'll typically get a way better return on your investment if you combine your own cash with a loan from the bank.
So anyway, let's assume that you are going to get funding from a lender. So before you start shopping for deals, you need to understand what your purchasing power is. So let's break down what that is and why it's so important.
So your purchasing power consists of 2 parts. Part number 1 is your loan approval amount, and part number 2 is the capital you have to invest.
So to figure out your loan approval amount, consider things like your debt to income ratio, or your DTI, and your credit score. So lenders prefer a low DTI and a high credit score. If you have a high DTI or a low credit score, you can still move forward by finding lenders who maybe focus on like looking at the property and evaluating the property as opposed to your individual credit profile.
Or you can partner with someone with a better financial standing or improving your own financial situation. It's crucial to know your loan approval amount because it really determines how much you can actually spend to purchase a property.
Say the market you chose is filled with homes that cost $500,000, but you can only get approved to buy a home that costs $300,000. Then you're wasting your time looking at that market because it's overpriced, at least for you.
And the second component of your purchasing power is the capital you have available to put towards the purchase of the property.
Even with a good credit score and low DTI, you'll need cold hard cash to purchase and furnish the property, okay, for your down payment, your closing costs, and you can expect to pay anywhere between 10 to 25% of the purchase price as your down payment, another 1 to 3% in closing costs, and startup costs are going to vary pretty wildly depending on the market and what kind of property you're putting up. But for us, we budget sometimes $30,000 for startup costs, and that's for our tiny homes.
Right.
So those costs can vary pretty dramatically.
And if you don't have the necessary cash reserves, you'll need to save up or find a partner who can contribute those funds.
Now, make sure that you're aware of the capital that's required to close on a property and factor it into your decision-making process.
So to recap, your purchasing power made up of your loan approval amount and available capital is a critical thing to consider when lining up your financing.
And in terms of the type of bank financing that you can get, there are tons of different options out there. You can go the typical like investment loan where maybe you're putting down 25%. You can go with the second home loan where maybe you're putting down 10%. And if maybe you plan to live in the house and rent out a portion, you can go in like where you're only putting down 3.5%. There are so many different options. So talk to local banks, talk to credit unions, talk to mortgage brokers. The more people you can talk to, the better. The point is, use these 14 days to reach out to as many lenders as possible. And your goal here is to get a sense of what kind of loan product makes sense for your unique situation, how much you can get approved for, and how much capital you need to actually buy something. So now that you've finished phase 2, you're 28 days into your 90-day journey. And so far, you spent 14 days, selecting several cities to potentially invest into, and you spent another 14 days figuring out how you're going to fund whatever property you end up buying. That's a fantastic start, and it's taking you less than a month to do.
So now phase 3 is all about deal analysis. This is the longest phase, and it's also the most important. It's the most important because it's the step that we see so many new investors get so wrong. They get all excited because they found a city that they've always wanted to own a vacation home in, and they find a beautiful property in that city that they've fallen so in love with, and everything points to this property being the best property ever, except for the fact that if they buy, they'll break even at best, or at worst, lose money on the deal entirely.
So we'll give you a quick overview of how to analyze a property as an Airbnb, and we'll cover 3 main categories. So category 1, projected income, category 2, projected expenses, and category 3 are acquisition costs. Now, if you want a more detailed explanation, we've got, I think, like a 30-minute long video. We'll put the link in our description that breaks down how we analyze deals. First, to project a property's income, you need 3 things. You need the average daily rates, the occupancy percentage, and cleaning fees. So you can do this for free like on Airbnb, but it's a little harder to do that. So our suggestion is to use sites like Price Labs or AirDNA to find these numbers. Now, as an example, say that a property has a $250 average daily rate, 75% occupancy, and $18,000 in annual cleaning fee income. That would generate an annual income of about $86,000. Next, consider the expenses, including the mortgage payment, your insurance and taxes, utilities, cleaning fees, repairs and maintenance, and use a mortgage calculator to estimate your mortgage payments, and consult an insurance agent for insurance costs, and then ask local cleaners for quotes on cleaning that property. Then you want to allocate around 10% of your income for repairs and maintenance. And then to estimate your utilities costs, you can use your network or talk to agents in that market to get a sense of what it might cost for electricity, things like that. And then last, make sure you include your listing fees. Airbnb charges 3%, Vrbo charges 8%.
Lastly, calculate acquisition costs, including the down payment, closing costs, and furnishing and setup costs. You'll need this number to calculate your cash-on-cash return for the property. So, for example, if you profit $25,000 on a property with a $100,000 acquisition cost, your cash-on-cash return is 25%.
So this quick breakdown should help you get started with analyzing properties as a short-term rental, as an Airbnb. But again, don't forget to check out the full video on how we actually analyze deals. Check the link in our description. It's a super comprehensive guide.
Yeah, and I promise it'll be super helpful to see that video.
Yeah, and along with that video, we've also got a totally free download. If you head over to the realestaterobinsons.com/calculator, we put together a free tool that helps you analyze properties that you're considering purchasing as a short-term rental. And again, you use that with the video, you guys will be like experts.
Set for life.
Yeah.
We've had thousands of people download this calculator, and it's a simple tool that'll help you confidently analyze the properties, just like Tony J does.
Now, for this phase, we're going to give you more time than phase 1 and phase 2. In total for phase 3, you get 32 days. So that's just over 4 weeks, and it'll take you from day 28 all the way through day 60. And here's why you get so much time for this specific phase. Your goal here in this phase is to analyze as many properties as you can within each of your chosen markets.
And as you analyze deals in each city, one of those cities will consistently be the one that's most profitable. And once you identify that top city, you should focus all of your efforts on analyzing properties in that market specifically.
Now look, at a minimum, you should be able to analyze at least 40 properties during this phase. That's a little more than 1 property per day. And the first few that you analyze are going to take you a long time, okay? Just expect that. But once you get to like property 10, you'll feel like an absolute pro.
And the goal is that at least one of those properties will be good enough for you to actually submit an offer on.
And now that you've analyzed a bunch of deals and you found that perfect property, it's time for the final phase.
But before we keep moving, we'd really appreciate if you guys could give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications. Every new subscriber really does mean a lot to us, and we have a big goal of getting to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So if you guys are enjoying this content, finding it helpful, please subscribe and turn on those notifications.
All right, time for the final phase, which is phase 4. And this phase is all about closing and escrow. So this phase starts on day 61 and ends on day 90. So you get exactly 30 days for this phase. And that's because most escrow periods, most closing windows are about 30 days.
So in this phase, you've already found your property and you've got a signed agreement with the seller to purchase that property. So now you get to complete your due diligence and work with your lender to actually get your deal funded.
Now, as the buyer, make sure that you use your escrow period to complete inspections, all right? Hire professionals to go out to the property and give you detailed reports on the condition of everything, okay? And if you find anything major that's wrong, make sure you bring that up to the seller and try to negotiate to get a credit for that issue.
So we typically have a 14 or 21 day window in our purchase agreements to complete our due diligence. So basically, if we find anything during that window, we have the right to either terminate the contract and walk away completely if we want to.
As you're working on your due diligence and any negotiations that come from that, you should also start planning out any rehab or design work that you plan to complete on that property. We usually like to have our design work done by the time we close on a property, so our teams can get to work on day 1, as opposed to, after we close on the property.
So we see a lot of new investors who wait to start this work until after they officially close. but that means their properties are probably literally going to be sitting vacant for weeks while they start that work. So get started early. Once you get through your closing period, the keys are officially yours and you can celebrate.
Yeah, so from there, you're setting up your property, you're taking it live, and just like that, in 90 days, you've been able to identify a market, figure out your financing, analyze a bunch of deals, and close on your first Airbnb.
So we told you guys at the beginning of this video that the process was going to be super straightforward, and we hope we delivered on that. So don't overcomplicate it. Follow these exact steps, and in no time, you'll have your very first deal done too.
And look, before we go, please connect with us on Instagram. I'm at Tony J. Robinson. My lovely wife is at Sarah Rad Robinson.
Yes.
She's got a new handle for those of you who've been following the channel for a while. And if you're on TikTok, give us a follow at The Real Estate Robinsons.
Again, if you liked what you heard in this video and you want to really take your Airbnb business to the next level, book a call with our team to learn more about our Airbnb coaching program called Alpha Host Academy.
When you join Alpha Host Academy, you get amazing content, access to a thriving and helpful community, and tons of accountability through both group coaching and one-on-one coaching. So if you want to learn more about the program, book a call with our team. It's totally free at therealestaterobinsons.com/book a call. And if you got any other questions about this video, drop a comment below. We'll do our best to answer it. But that's it for today, guys. I'm Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And we are
The Real Estate
Robinsons.